The driest desert on planet Earth is underwater. Right now, in northern Chile, in a place where some towns go an entire year without seeing 5 millimeters of rain, streets have turned into rivers of mud, cars have been swept downhill like toys, and families have watched their homes disappear under brown floodwater. This is the Atacama Desert, a place so dry that NASA uses it to test equipment for Mars missions. Yet in the past few days, this same desert has been hit by flash floods so violent that the president has declared a state of catastrophe. Thousands have been forced into shelters, and at least one person is dead, with several more still missing. By the end of this video, you will understand exactly why one of the driest places on Earth just became a disaster zone, and what is happening on the ground right now. Before we go further, if this matters to you, hit that like button and subscribe with notifications on, because we will be tracking this as it develops. Drop a comment and tell me, had you ever heard the Atacama Desert could flood like this? Let's get into it. This disaster did not come out of nowhere. It started in mid-July when Chile's meteorological authorities warned that an unusually powerful weather system was approaching from the Pacific, reinforced by what's called an atmospheric river, a corridor of concentrated moisture stretching thousands of kilometers across the ocean. When it slammed into the Andes, the humid air rose, cooled, and released intense, sustained rainfall. The government declared a preventive emergency across 10 of Chile's 16 regions before the storm even fully arrived, with forecasts predicting accumulations that could exceed 300 millimeters in areas that normally take a year or more to see that much rain. That storm hit hard. Central and southern regions like Biobío were battered by torrential rain and fierce wind. Schools shut down, a major copper mine halted surface operations, and around 257,000 people lost power. 3 people died in that first wave, but the storm then pushed north into territory that almost never sees rain, and that's when things turned catastrophic. Meteorologists called the rainfall highly unusual for a region known globally as home to the driest desert on the planet. President José Antonio Cast declared a full state of catastrophe for Coquimbo and Huasco province, an emergency status that lets the government deploy the military and fast-track resources into disaster zones. The damage from that July disaster was staggering. Over 100,000 people cut off by floods and landslides, at least 13 confirmed dead, 7 more missing, over 2,200 displaced, and tens of thousands of homes damaged or destroyed. Authorities called it one of the worst weather disasters Chile has seen in decades. And behind all of it was one name mentioned in every single briefing: El Niño. El Niño is a naturally occurring climate pattern tied to warming sea temperatures in the Pacific, and it has a very real, well-documented effect on South American weather. During El Niño years, unusual tropical convection triggers a ripple in the atmosphere that pushes storm tracks further into central and northern Chile than normal, producing a wetter winter and far more frequent, far more powerful frontal systems and atmospheric rivers. Central Chile's rainfall has one of the clearest links to El Niño anywhere in South America, which is why forecasters flagged elevated flood risk months before a single drop fell. And here's what should concern you. El Niño is still forecast to strengthen toward its peak later this year. Chile isn't leaving this dangerous window, it's entering it. Fast forward to just days ago, most people assumed the worst was behind them. It wasn't. On August 10th, Chile's Interior Ministry declared a fresh preventive emergency across 5 entire northern regions, from Arica y Parinacota down through Tarapacá, Antofagasta, Atacama, and Coquimbo, roughly 1,000 kilometers of coastline and interior. Forecasters warned of rain, wind, snow, and thunderstorms, with a high freezing level raising flood and landslide risk in the foothills. That warning proved exactly right. If this breakdown is useful, smash that like button right now and drop a comment with where you're watching from. It genuinely helps this video reach people who need to see what's unfolding in Chile, so don't scroll past this part. On August 18th, everything came to a head in Tocopilla, a port city of about 25,000 people squeezed between the Pacific and a wall of steep coastal hills. Chile's Meteorological Directorate issued a rare weather alarm, warning of 15 to 25 millimeters of rain in a single day. That number sounds small anywhere else, but Tocopilla averages about 5 millimeters across an entire year. It was about to get up to 5 times that in hours. One official admitted plainly that the region simply wasn't built for this and reminded residents that in 1991, a similar event with even less rainfall ended in tragedy. That's exactly what happened again. As rain intensified, it poured into quebradas, dry ravines that sit empty 364 days a year. With no vegetation and no soil structure to absorb it, the water didn't soak in. It ran, gathering mud, rocks, and debris as it raced downhill into an alluvion, a violent debris flow that grows in size and power the further it travels. Footage from Tocopilla that day is hard to watch. Vehicles physically dragged down flooded streets, residents wading through what used to be roads, desperately trying to save belongings as their homes filled with sediment. The mayor described her own town as essentially a cluster of ravines wedged between mountain and sea, meaning there was almost nowhere for that much water to go except straight through the middle of the community. By that evening, President Gast declared a full constitutional state of catastrophe, specifically for Tocopilla province, a status historically reserved for major earthquakes and large-scale fires, now extended to catastrophic flooding. It allows the government to mobilize every available resource, including the armed forces. Chile's disaster agency, Senapred, issued a red alert across 4 communes, Antofagasta, Mejillones, Tocopilla, and Taltal, citing extremely high risk of further mass movement events. The human toll came in fast. 1 driver was killed when falling rocks hit a roadway near Antofagasta. In Tocopilla, the mayor reported 3 people missing, though she herself was trapped in a separate part of town, cut off by the very flooding she was trying to manage. That detail alone tells you how chaotic this was. Evacuations were ordered for neighborhoods sitting closest to the ravines, a shelter was set up in a local school, and every land route into and out of Tocopilla was cut off, forcing authorities to prepare emergency aid deliveries by air. The full scale became clear the next day, when the regional governor delivered the first official damage assessment. Roughly 60% of all homes in Tocopilla were affected, flooded with mud, structurally damaged, or both. 6 out of every 10 homes in an entire city from a single day of rain in a place where rain barely exists. Officials noted that engineered flood retention basins built into the hillsides helped contain part of the flow, or the damage would have been even worse. Over 1,000 people were confirmed in shelters. More than 10,000 customers lost electricity across Tarapacá and Antofagasta combined. Dozens of homes were logged with major damage, dozens more with minor damage, and dozens still under evaluation days later. President Gast personally traveled to Antofagasta and Tocopilla before continuing to Tarapacá, where the city of Iquique had also been hit, registering rainfall authorities described as more than 19 times above normal for the period. The government released regional emergency funds to speed up cleanup and rebuilding, and deployed military personnel into Tocopilla, both to secure the town and reassure residents afraid to leave their damaged homes for shelters. Health authorities issued urgent warnings about contaminated mud and water, instructing people not to return home or drink tap water until officials confirmed it was safe. So where does this leave us right now? The rain in Tocopilla has stopped, and the meteorological alarm has officially been canceled, though warnings for strong wind and possible sandstorms remain active. But do not mistake the end of the rain for the end of this disaster. 3 people are still officially unaccounted for in Tocopilla, and search efforts continue in a landscape now buried under thick layers of mud, which makes the work painstakingly slow. Access into the city is still limited, with crews using heavy machinery just to reopen a single functional route so aid and equipment can get in. Thousands remain displaced, some in shelters, others staying with family, some refusing to leave the wreckage of their own homes. Municipal workers, public works crews, and privately owned machinery have all been mobilized together to dig homes and streets out from under the mud, a process officials say could take weeks. And here is the part that should really stop you. This is not a one-time freak event. This is the 3rd major flood disaster to hit Chile in barely more than a month after the mid-July storm in the south and the late July catastrophe in Coquimbo and Huasco. 3 separate, serious flooding disasters in roughly 5 weeks in a country not historically known for relentless extreme weather like this. And with El Niño still strengthening in the Pacific, meteorologists aren't ruling out another major system before the season ends. A desert, built by nature to almost never see rain, is being hit again and again, and none of its roads, drainage systems, or housing were ever designed to survive water on this scale. Every time it happens faster than the region can prepare for, because how do you prepare a 50-year-old town built at the base of a dry ravine for a flood nobody thought was physically possible there? This story is still developing, which is exactly why we need you engaged right now. If this video helped you understand what's happening in Chile and why a desert is flooding, don't just scroll past it. Hit that like button. It takes 1 second and tells this channel to bring you more coverage like this. Subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next update the moment new numbers or new footage come out of Tocopilla, because this situation is moving fast. And before you go, drop a comment below. What surprised you most? The fact that the driest desert on Earth just flooded, the 60% damage figure out of Tocopilla, or learning this is already the 3rd major flood disaster to hit this country in 5 weeks? Let me know down there. I read every comment, and I'll see you in the next one.